Hi, welcome to A Week in Walford, the EastEnders review show presented by a couple in a relationship with no secrets. I'm David Brown.
And I'm Jonathan Hughes.
This week's headlines: Carmel's big moment,
Stacey shouts the odds,
and Mick and Linda, who's leaving who? So first up, we're going to be speaking in praise of Carmel Cassini, played by Bonnie Langford, currently the show's best matriarch. Now, I noticed that she got a bit of flack on social media, people turning against her because she'd called social services on Stacey. But I think that a show matriarch needn't be a saint. We don't have to kind of find their actions agreeable. Agreed?
Agreed. I think that the point of a soap matriarch is that they are flawed and they're meddling and they're interfering in their kids' lives deliberately. And there are consequences, but that's the whole point of a matriarch. They think they're doing what they think should be done. Do you know what I mean? Think of
course, yeah.
Think of Pauline Fowler.
Or Peggy, when, you know, she took against Mark when it was revealed that he had HIV. You know, it was a pretty kind of horrible reaction to that news. Yeah. But, you know, we still loved Peggy because, you know, she went on a journey, we went on that journey with her. Yeah. She learned from those experiences. And I think, you know, we're seeing Carmel do the same thing.
I think, definitely, she really reminds me of Pauline Fowler, just because Pauline Fowler always thought she had the right idea, and she thought, they're my kids, I'll protect them, I'll do what I think needs doing, which is what Carmel's doing, what Zainab used to do, but they get it terribly, terribly wrong. But what it does show is that Carmel is a flawed person, and they're the best characters in soap, aren't they? They're the ones we relate to. They don't always get it right. If everyone got it right in EastEnders, we'd have nothing to talk about for a start.
Exactly. Bonnie Langford, though, who'd have thought?
Who knew Bonnie Langford, Dame Bonnie, I'm calling it now.
Yeah.
She's amazing. I mean, we know she's talented, we know she's been around forever.
But that side of her we haven't really seen before, have we?
I'd never really seen her in a very dramatic role.
No.
I didn't, when she was cast, I thought, well, what about her accent? She's always quite posh in musical theatre and jazz hands. How's she going to sound?
Thigh slapping.
Exactly. Panto Dame, Principal Boy.
Yeah.
She is now, I think this week has solidified her status as like you say, I think the best matriarch in the show. The best matriarch since Peggy, I would say.
And her story obviously linked to that of Stacey, who, blimey, Friday's episode, if you had a soundbar on your TV, no doubt the speakers have been shattered. I mean, she can raise her voice at times, but I'd never seen anything quite like this before.
No, I did think, and this is a lofty statement, this is the loudest I've ever heard Stacey's voice ever in all her years on the show, which is saying something. I think there's probably a small earthquake detected in the Elstree-Borehamwood area where EastEnders is filmed, and if your knickknacks haven't fallen off your sideboard, I'd be surprised. That was some noise.
Yeah, but I mean, what it showed for me is that EastEnders needn't do kind of bus smashes or cars driving into chip shop windows for there to be like a sense of drama. I mean, the fact that Stacey's whole livelihood and her health is now at risk, that's when EastEnders is at its best, I think, and Stacey kind of is emblematic of that, you know, when they portray her properly.
I think so, and I think it's no gimmicks. I felt like this storyline's got no gimmicks at all. It's become, perhaps in the beginning there was a bit of scaremongering about social services, the social as they were referred to, but this week we've seen the story play out properly. And yeah, it's proper jeopardy for the characters, and it's become character-driven, this story. Carmel's actions, Stacey's reaction. It's about people and emotions, and the worst thing that can happen to Stacey is losing her children, and that's what this story is really about. And I think people can relate to it more than a car going through a chippy. Emotional
rather than actual stunts, I think, is the way forward. It's what EastEnders does best. Okay, on to our final topic of conversation, then. We've got Mick and Linda. In the words of Hazel Dean, who is leaving who?
I can't keep up. Can you?
1 week it's Linda planning to leave Mick.
Yeah.
The next week it's Mick doing the same.
Yeah, and then it's kind of a merry-go-round. Yeah. Not so merry. It's a bit grim, really, and a bit repetitive. Who was it this week? Remind me. I've forgotten already.
Mick finding out about the cancer.
Yes.
And doing his kind of sleepy-eyed acting.
Oh yes.
I love Danny Dye when he does that. He kind of narrows his eyes like that, doesn't he?
Elle, why didn't you tell me, Elle? I've nodded off.
But the problem is that in this past year, they've kind of rent them asunder and they're now having to build them back together. I'm hoping that this is the point now where all that is put to bed and they are a united force. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I think fans prefer them together, don't they? Nobody really liked, you know, Mick straying. I'm not sure how the cancer secret storyline has really been almost not been properly thought through. It just felt like a plot device, to be honest. But yes, I agree.
To account for Kelly Bright's
I guess so. Yes, I guess so. They had to have something. But yeah, I want Mick and Linda happy. I think everyone else does, and I want Mick to stay awake during scenes as well. That would be helpful.
The missed opportunity they had, I think, was that they should have, in a cruel way, and I'm very sorry to the actor Ted Riley, but I think they should have killed Johnny Carter when he was shot by Ted Murray. Well, you know what they should have done is kind of have Johnny die and then show a kind of a family in grief. Bring Lee Carter back into it. Survivor's guilt, you know, the fact that he was planning on killing himself at Christmas. And they should have kind of done a version of the forgotten film Ordinary People.
Ordinary People?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that film mentioned in about 40 years. It is a brilliant film though. Watch it if you've never heard of it.
It was a study in family grief.
It was, yeah. It was the death of a child and how a family cope with it. I think we need to see Mick and Linda have a big storyline where they're kind of it's not all about their marriage collapsing. And incidentally, can we just talk about Linda's hair? You know, her donut on her head.
yeah.
It was unravelling this week. I think this was like symbolic of, you know how it's really tight? In all those scenes with her and Mick, there are bits of stray hair coming out as if the marriage unravels, the hair unravels.
And Mick's eyes narrow.
Oh my gosh, this is
at the
how
same time.
we detect the Carters in crisis.
So keep your eyes on both eyes, minces.
keep your mince pies on Mick's mince pies.
And Linda's
Barnet. Donut. Yeah. Oh, well done.
There you go.
Well.
And join us here in 7 days' time for another week in Walford.